Today I want to talk about trailers, dubbing, and The Boy and the Heron. It's been one of the most awaited films for me this year. I've been a huge fan of Hayao Miyazaki ever since I can remember. Usually I don't watch trailers, and the reason for that is that I think they give out too much, especially these days. And I get that there are like different types of trailers, and I don't have to watch these 3 minutes long trailers. And instead, very often there are like teaser trailers, right, which are usually shorter and not spoiling so much about the plot and so on. But the fact is that quite often they only do trailers, and you don't have a teaser trailer. And for me, it's a big problem because while I'm completely fine with seeing something that represents the feeling and the mood of the film, and just like ask some questions maybe, and only gives me like a peek behind the curtain about the visuals and some of the characters, I'm fine with that. But I hate when they include too many of the characters and too many of the storylines, and even try to sell the whole setup for the movie in the trailer. And by the way, tell me if you disagree with that in the comments. I'd love to know. Maybe it's been the thing for a long time and I just haven't noticed. But I feel like in the recent years they include like a huge number of shots, and the trailers got longer. They include much more story points, and they tease you, and very often they even use like shots from the final the final act of the film in the trailer. They don't tell what the resolution is, but they kind of include the aspects of that resolution already in the trailer. And for me, it's a huge problem. The latest season of Stranger Things, it has I can't remember, 7 episodes, something like that. And in the trailer that was released before the first episode, right? They actually drop it in one go, but anyway, doesn't matter for now. So you can see scenes from all of the 7 episodes in the trailer. For me, it's crazy. Don't you have enough in first 2 episodes even, especially since there are an hour-long episodes, to pique the interest of a potential viewer? Do you really have to include all of these story beats and all of these setups for the series? I don't know. I thought it was crazy, really. And it's crazy, especially because trailer editors are extremely skilled. So my point is that I can't devaluate the value of their work, because they do what's expected of them, and they pique your interest. But at the same time, unfortunately, with the way they are cutting these things is because the way we are expecting them to. And I bet that they are measuring the success of any trailer, and there is a pattern, they follow the pattern, right? But for me, for all of these reasons that I've just mentioned, this pattern that seems to be winning right now is a problem. And one of the best examples that illustrate this is The Boy and the Heron. The Japanese trailer, it's actually a teaser trailer, was released a few months ago, and I thought it was perfection, absolute perfection. It gives me the feeling of the movie. It sets up the world a little bit, but without introducing too many characters, without introducing too many story beats, and without trying to explain the story, trying to set it up for me. I really love that. I want to be surprised by the creator, especially if I know that the creator is a mastermind, right, behind all of this. But a few weeks ago, they released an American trailer. It's almost twice as long, and it's completely different. The feeling of it is different. They show many more characters, and they try to set up what the story is about. They try to set up what the boy will be exposed against in this story. They try to set up why he is actually, going on the journey. So, it's not about the mystery, it's about revealing things. But again, this is because of the pattern that draws people into the theaters. So I can't blame them, but, I feel like I like the Japanese approach much better in this case. So it's just a food for thought. And now I want to talk about why I also feel like you should see The Boy and the Heron with the Japanese dialects, with the Japanese audio, instead of the dubbing one. Even though there is like an amazing cast, the dubbing cast behind this film. Before I do that, however, I want to mention NordVPN, which is something that I use to access films that I wouldn't be able to access otherwise. I also want to mention how you can save some money on Adobe subscription using any VPN, really. So, a VPN is a service that lets your computer connect to the internet from any place in the world. But the first use really is to access films and shows that I wouldn't be able to access from my location. For example, when Jim Cummings released the beta test, which is his most recent feature film, right? It wasn't available in Poland, but it was available to rent on Vudu or to buy on Vudu, right? Which I can't access from Poland. This portal is not accessible. So I have to set my VPN to the US, and then I can rent, I can buy, and I can watch something that just wasn't accessible in my country at all. The second use is about saving money. Basically, I can access some films in Poland, right? But I can rent or buy them from the services that I don't have access to. But I do have access to Netflix. But some of the films or shows that are accessible in the UK, Netflix UK or Netflix US, are not accessible in Netflix Poland. So that's how I can basically switch between the countries that I'm connecting to the internet from and access those films and TV shows. I can just use the streamer that I already have access to and just change my location. And the third use is not the one that I actually used so far, but I've learned recently that Adobe is setting up the prices of their software, right, based on the location. So for example, this is the price in the US, this is in the UK, this is in Germany, and this is in Turkey. And as you can see, the spread is quite high. So you can actually connect to another country and buy your Creative Cloud license from there, save some bucks this way. By the way, it doesn't go against Adobe's terms of service as of right now, but it might change in the future. By the way, this works with any VPN, but if you're interested in the one that I use, in NordVPN, I get a small commission with no additional cost to you if you purchase using my link. Okay, back to dubbing, right? Dubbing is great because it makes the thing more accessible to other people, right? For example, my children, right? Iggy here, he wants to watch The Boy and the Heron. Dubbing makes it accessible for him. Also, I think that they have put like extraordinary cast for dubbing for The Boy and the Heron. But still, I think that it's just so much better if it's possible for you, if it's not a problem for you to read this quickly or whatever, to actually hear the original audio. Again, I am a big fan of Hayao Miyazaki. I want to know what his direction was like. I want to know what he was happy with when creating this masterpiece, supposedly. And just watching it with dubbing, with not the original sound and the tone of voice and so on, is not what he intended me to do. I want to respect that, And, it might change in the future. I think this is a especially interesting year to talk about this, because with how AI tools and voice modulation and voice generation evolved during the last year, it makes the conversation much more complicated. Potentially in a few years, you will have the same tone of voice of the Japanese actor, and the lip sync will also work, and it will be all done automatically. So will I feel the same about this then? I'm not really sure. I think there is something special in seeing the original version of the piece of art, there are like many reconstructions of Mona Lisa, for example, right? But if it's a reconstruction, you're not really putting too much value in it, right? But if it's the original, it's a completely different story. Recently on Camera Image Film Festival, I was able to see a painting. I'm not sure about the title exactly, but I think it's Copernicus, the Talk with the God, or something like that. And it's extraordinary to see it in person, in the actual size, in the actual canvas, and knowing it's the original, right? Not a replica. It's just, I don't know, there is something, or believing that it is, right? It also works if you believe that it's the original. But if it's a reconstruction, it devalues the experience. And watching films with subtitles, It's different, but really you get used to it very quickly. For me, it wasn't an option. I watched like American movies since early age, and I always had to use subtitles for those because there wasn't any dubbing back then, unless there was like another thing that we have in Poland, which is like the same actor reading all of the movies in the national TV. It's a different story. But for me, really, hearing the original and reading subtitles is just something that comes very naturally. And I realize that it might not be the case for everyone, but I think you get used to it quite quickly. So I would encourage you to give it a go for any Hayao Miyazaki's films. The Japanese language is just so, I don't know, it's different, and there is also a study that, like, that the language that you speak has an impact on the way you think. And I think that you can translate also this to the language that you hear impacts the way that you feel about what you hear, right? I think it's really true. I haven't seen any studies, any research on that, but I'm just convinced, that it's the case. So the Japanese language is so unique and it sounds so distinctly that I really think you should give it a go. You should watch Hayao Miyazaki's films in with the Japanese audio and just subtitles below. I know it's a lot of my opinions basically, and if you disagree with any, I'm happy to discuss in the comments. To have like a constructive discussion. Thank you for watching. Until the next time.